you'll float too. It is directed by Andy Muschietti, starring Bill Skarsgård, Jaeden Lieberher, Finn Wolfhard, Sophia Lillis, Jeremy Ray Taylor, Chosen Jacobs, Jack Dylan Glazer, and Wyatt Oleff. Before I go any further, I just want to say there will not be any plot spoilers in this review. This film is an adaptation of the novel by the same name, written by Stephen King, and this film is set in the late 1980s, and it revolves around a group of bullied kids who are tormented by a supernatural clown creature. I'm not going to be discussing the differences between the novel and the adaptation. I'm just going to be judging this film based on its film merits or demerits. So first off, I want to touch on the fact that this is a horror film first and foremost. The Clown character has been something that has been involved in pop culture seemingly for a very long time, and now we have Bill Skarsgård portraying Pennywise, and this is a very frighteningly aesthetic clown, and I also really like the way Bill Skarsgård utilized the voice in an almost caricature type way where I found myself being amused but also being frightened at the same time. And it not only has horrific elements when it comes to the Pennywise character, but the town of Derry itself feels like a very horrific place to live. The kids that are depicted in this film are bullied mercilessly, and also the adults seemingly do not care at all about what is happening to the youth in this town. They are rather terrible people, and that seems to be a running thing throughout a lot of Stephen King's work, where the adults are not really involved in the kids' life, and the kids really have to essentially raise themselves, and that is very much apparent in this film. There are a lot of thematic elements in this film, but at the core of this film, I think, is a coming-of-age story. There is a lot of time invested in the characters of the losers, and I think that's where the main strength of this film lies. It lies within this group of really young, talented actors that I was really impressed with. Not often are you able to get this group of talented actors together and have them really congeal the way they were. The camaraderie amongst the actors and amongst the characters was really, really good, and the film really hinged on that. They have a lot of issues that they are dealing with in their lives, a lot of personal issues, especially with the Beverly character, who I think is the strongest of all of the kids in the losers. She is one dealing with a more horrific element than the Pennywise character, but I won't go into that because that may spoil things for you. The actress in question, I think, is going to be a big star someday. At least I hope so. I hope she gets more roles outside of this film that really give her the experience and the exposure that I think she definitely deserves. But a lot of the other kids are also great as well. Unfortunately, this film was not that scary to me personally. I know a lot of people in my theater were just frightened out of their minds. When it comes to the horror aspects in it, the film relies heavily on jump scares, and some of them are very good, but after it happened so many times and it was the same camera setups and the same, camera movements, I knew they were coming. It was really obvious, after a while the film didn't do a good job of hiding it, and that is not to say the film had bad cinematography or things of that nature. No, I thought the film was shot extremely well by Andy Muschietti. He really knew how to capture this world of Derry, Maine, and really capture the world of these children. Unfortunately, I don't think he knew really to build suspense in any way. Like I said, a lot of jump scares, a lot of quick scares. Suspense takes time and also takes a lot of setup and a lot of patience, and this film had a lot of things to do in the 2-hour time limit that it had. Another negative aspect I have is that there are a lot of jarring tonal shifts. We will be going from laughing at a hysterical joke by one of the characters to being extremely frightened by a jump scare, just a minute later. And those two things kind of clash with one another quite a few times, and they used it a lot in the film, and it wasn't too noticeable to the fact that it took me out of the film, but I did find it being rather a roller coaster ride from that perspective. But one of the major negative aspects I have is really with the screenplay movie in and of itself. Especially when we get towards the later part of the second act and the third act, I found that there were a lot of traditional, cliched, easy writing techniques that were utilized that were really kind of bothering me when it came to the overall flow of the film, as well as the overall kind of reasoning behind a lot of things that were happening in it. It kind of made things not make a lot of sense, and unfortunately those things really stuck out to me, and I really thought a tighter script would have definitely benefited the film. But with all that being said, I'm going to give this film a 3.8 out of 5 stars. It is definitely entertaining. If you are a fan of horror films, I think you will definitely enjoy it. If you are not a fan of horror films, but you like that adrenaline rush watching horror films, you will get that too. And I am very impressed by the young actors in this film, and the film also has rather solid direction from Andy Muschietti. This has been my review of it. If you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.